In the top stories, Prime Minister Harris outlined the nation's efforts in response to COVID-19 outbreak worldwide. Dominica records its first case of coronavirus, and coronavirus could destroy 10 million U.S. jobs, economists fear. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Monday, the 23rd of March, 2020. I am your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis will be denying entry to international travelers from countries where COVID-19 cases have been confirmed except for special cases. That is one of the new regulations in an updated travel advisory outlined by Prime Minister Harris in his national address on Sunday night. The Prime Minister's address outlined several steps the country has been taking to protect the people from the spread of COVID-19, including tighter regulations on persons traveling from specific countries.
Such countries include China, Iran, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, Europe, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. Citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis arriving from the aforementioned destinations or any other jurisdiction will be subject to entry screening and a mandatory 14-day quarantine period upon arrival. International travelers from the aforementioned jurisdictions are strongly advised not to travel to St. Kitts and Nevis at this time, as you will be refused entry unless an exceptional case for entry is made.
Regarding efforts in local healthcare, Prime Minister Harris said the government has reached out for assistance from international partners, including dozens of healthcare workers from Taiwan.
We have reached out to several governments for support and assistance, including the United States of America, the Republic of China, Taiwan, and Cuba. Through this engagement, we have requested external support for some 85 health professionals, even as we reach out to our retired health workers at home.
He said the government has also committed $16.9 million to the health sector in response to the COVID-19 outbreak worldwide. This is in addition to the $62 million that was already budgeted for the health sector in 2020. Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris will be the special guest on tonight's edition of Straight Talk on ZIZ Radio. Prime Minister Harris and host the Honorable Ian Liburd are expected to discuss a number of topics, particularly related to the Federation's response to the COVID-19 outbreak worldwide. The Prime Minister's appearance on Straight Talk comes on the heels of a national address made on ZIZ Radio and TV on COVID-19 efforts nationwide. Straight Talk airs on ZIZ Radio every Monday at 8 p.m. And as we wrap up local news, the Ministry of National Security has announced new measures to tighten security and enhance the regulation of screening at ports of entry. A statement issued on the weekend said, following a multi-agency border protection meeting chaired by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security and involving members of the Coronavirus National Task Force and members of the boating community, Cabinet has approved the several actions to be taken immediately to improve prevention and screening for COVID-19 at ports of entry in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. The statement said the Customs and Excise Department, Immigration Department, and Public Health Department environmental health officers will be allowed an increase in personnel to facilitate a 24-hour systematic physical presence at each designated port. Several ports of entry have been identified and approved by the government as official seaports of entry, and it will be mandatory for all vessels to be docked at these ports. They are Port Zante, including Marina, Deep Water Port at Bird Rock, Christophe Harbour, and St. Kitts Marine Work in New Guinea in St. Kitts, and the Charlestown Pier and Long Point Deep Water Port in Nevis. The statement also noted that all vessels are required to dock at the official seaports of entry from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. And as various sectors of the nation undertake measures to stop the spread of a potential COVID-19 outbreak, the management of Her Majesty's Prison has announced the suspension of all visits to the prison. A statement issued on the weekend said the suspension began on Sunday and will continue until further notice. The statement said, quote, "The management of the prison apologizes for any inconvenience this move might cause," end of quote. On the regional scene, Dominica has recorded its first case of the coronavirus. This was confirmed by Minister of Health there, Dr. Irving McIntyre, at a press conference on Sunday. Minister McIntyre said the patient, a 54-year-old male who traveled to Dominica from the United Kingdom, was placed on home quarantine and has been monitored by a medical team since his arrival on the island. He said, quote, "This individual is being treated in a special isolation unit and will remain there until recovery." In accordance with established public health practices, the Ministry of Health has initiated aggressive contact tracing to identify every individual who may have come into close contact with this patient. All individuals identified during contact tracing will be tested and placed under quarantine, end quote. The health minister said his ministry's primary focus is to ensure containment of the virus and prevent in-country transmission. And in St. Lucia, thousands of jobs are at stake and 15 hotels on the brink as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. The pandemic has convulsed the mainstay of the local economy, tourism. Here's more.
Tourism officials fear that the economic fallout could be detrimental if COVID-19 is not managed effectively. The global tourism and related industries are taking a pounding, with a slump in occupancy and revenue as travel restrictions and social distancing become widespread. The American Hotel and Lodging Association forecasts a 30% drop in hotel occupancy over a full year would result in the loss of nearly 4 million hotel jobs, from general managers to housekeepers. Chief Executive Officer of the St. Lucia Hospitality and Tourism Association, SLHTA Norani Aziz, says visitors are definitely reconsidering taking island vacations.
We have already felt the devastating impact of what's happening in the cruise industry. We understand the implications on our members, on vendors, on our tourism transportation system. We are seeing within the hospitality industry a notable number of cancellations of bookings.
Are tourism officials concerned that St. Lucia may not maintain its cherished status in the aftermath of COVID-19? Aziz believes that the industry has weathered many storms and this will be no different.
We can count on is the resilience of tourism. It is an industry that globally continues to account for a significant trade in movement of human capital, movement of financial capital. It accounts for meaningful exchange in culture, building of powerful partnerships, and I don't see a contraction in that post-COVID.
Meanwhile, retailers are now faced with disruptions to supply chains. In St. Lucia, consumers have been panic buying and there are concerns of price gouging. While there is currently a shortage of disinfectant products at Massey stores, Managing Director Martin Doville assures the public that there is no issue with food supply.
Our supply chain remains open. We have had no indication of any disruption to food either being produced on island or being able to be received from overseas. So that's in order, and we need to make sure that we do things to keep it that way. So in particular, we have ramped up on our purchases of those items. Clearly, the level of the demand was a big uncertainty, but we have certainly ramped up on our purchasing.
At the start of March, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, predicted that COVID-19 will lower global GDP growth by 0.5 percentage point for 2020, from 2.9 to 2.4%. The UN's Trade and Development Agency declared that the economic uncertainty around COVID-19 will likely cost the global economy $1 trillion in 2020. Experts believe the damage on the global economy depends on the virus being contained and whether governments provide support during and post-pandemic. Gina Filippi, HTS News Force.
On the international scene in the United States, measures being imposed to stop the coronavirus are having a devastating impact on workers, with the food, hospitality, and entertainment industries being hit particularly hard. Many American workers are taking to the internet to share their stories. Al Jazeera's Andrew Chappelle has more.
Yes, I do.
The lead singer of a country rock band, Zac Brown, shared this message with fans.
I've had to let go of about 90% of my family.
Explaining why tour dates have been canceled and why he had to let go of most of his crew. Across the U.S., performance artists and those behind the scenes are suddenly without work. That includes 95% of performers and staff from Cirque du Soleil. The entertainment company's revenue last year was just shy of $1 billion, a number that's dropped to zero, according to its CEO.
C'est une décision extrêmement difficile.
Unfortunately, this decision is our only option, as we are forced to position ourselves to weather this storm and prepare for eventual reopenings.
A hard sell for those who've just lost their only source of income.
Got laid off from my job due to the coronavirus.
These kinds of posts are increasing by the day from recently dismissed employees. Many are sharing their stories online, but also to get advice about applying for unemployment benefits in their state.
Florida. Wife is a hotel manager and was told she needs to take unpaid weeks coming up.
Just got sacked. I thought I would be safe as I'm in accounting, but we are in the hospitality industry, so I sort of understand.
I got laid off today. On the drive home, I got a text from my partner saying her company is filing for bankruptcy. Quite the day.
The largest hotel chain in the world, Marriott International, is planning to temporarily dismiss tens of thousands of workers, sending them home without pay.
COVID-19 is having a more severe and sudden financial impact on our business than 9/11 and the 2009 financial crisis combined.
The hotel industry in the U.S. is seeking $150 billion in relief from the government.
One by one.
Some sectors of the economy are collapsing. Wall Street investment firm Goldman Sachs issued a dire forecast on Friday, saying U.S. GDP may shrink by 24% in the second quarter of this year. Sports and entertainment spending may decline by 85%, according to economic forecasts. Millions of Americans could lose their jobs in the months ahead. Empty hotels, empty arenas, and empty theaters. 120,000 workers in the film industry are already out of work in Hollywood, according to one labor union, and millions of people will be forced to temporarily switch careers to make ends meet. But there is good news. Some companies are hiring, including the world's top 2 retailers. Amazon's adding 100,000 workers in the U.S. to meet the surge in demand from those now staying at home, while Walmart's adding 150,000 temporary workers. Whether stocking shelves, delivering food, or figuring out how to make those face-to-face interactions online, America's service sector is being transformed. Andrew Chappelle, Al Jazeera.
Over the past 24 hours, another 651 people have died from the COVID-19 coronavirus in Italy. Yet the authorities say there is a glimmer of hope. Here's more.
The city of Cremona in northern Italy, at the heart of the country's coronavirus crisis. Another 651 deaths nationwide over the past 24 hours, and almost 4,000 new contagions. Terrible figures, yet better than the previous 24-hour period, and, according to the authorities, offering a glimmer of hope for the future. Today's numbers are in contrast to yesterday's. We hope that these numbers can be confirmed in the coming days, but we must not let our guard down. Italy remains on severe lockdown. The normally busy highways are practically deserted. And if people do venture out, the police want to know why. Everyone has to justify their movements. In the worst-hit northern province of Bergamo, towns such as Nembro are eerily quiet. It's the same in nearby Alzano and in Mediglia. Italy has suffered more deaths from COVID-19 than any other country in the world, and some think the real toll is higher than the official figure.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy. A moderate breeze of 15 miles per hour is blowing from the northeast. Today's temperature will peak at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are reaching 5 to 7 feet. A small craft caution is in effect. Expect partly cloudy skies with a slight chance of showers and an increased chance of showers later this afternoon. Tonight, expect partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:22 p.m. and the sun is expected to rise tomorrow at 6:12 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.